We are honored today with the presence of the chairman of the full committee, Foreign Affairs Committee, Ed Royce, who we thank you for joining us and thank you for your leadership in this committee. And we would hope that you might have some thoughts to share with us at this time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Poe. I also want to extend my sympathy to the families who lost loved ones as a result of the downing of that airliner. I wanted to express my thanks to both of you and the ranking member, and also to Mr. Poe for coming with us. Frankly, we flied into eastern Ukraine, into this region, and into the province that's next to Donetsk several months ago in order to have a dialogue with the Russian-speaking people of that region in order to get feedback from the NGO community, from the community in general. I will tell you we had discussions with Russian speakers, the women's groups, the minority groups, the Jewish community, the governor, the civil society types, the lawyers. And in listening to all of that dialogue, they communicated one grave concern to us. Their concern was in the weapons and the caliber and quantity of those weapons flooding in over the border. Now, General Breedlove, also, who is the Allied commander at NATO, expressed these same concerns, and this was months ago. And he informed us, he informed the U.S. government that his concern was with the training that separatists were receiving inside Russia on this SA-11 missile system. His other concern was with these systems, as well as tanks coming over the border from Russia and being put into the hands of separatists. Part of the concern about the way this is being done is because of the way in which these separatists are being recruited. They're being recruited on social media, and in the words of one U.S. official, every malcontent and skinhead who responds to this rhetoric in the Russian-speaking world, you know, whether it's from Russia or eastern Ukraine, who is recruited, is probably not the best soldier. It is not a well-trained soldier, certainly. And to put these types of individuals on an SA-11 system, to shoot these systems, is to run an enormous risk. Now, this was a tragic accident in terms of hitting a jetliner, in my view. That was not the target. The target was Ukrainian military planes, and 12 of which had been shot down, and I think several others since. But they are shot down with this system. They're shot down by these individuals. And when we say not properly trained, I don't think there's any question of that. Because look for a minute to what happened in front of camera crews when these same separatists were guarding the site, the crash site. You notice that they took passports, they took Visa cards, they tried to use those Visa cards. Unprofessional conduct. A soldier would not be doing this. They took someone's wedding ring. They took cell phones and made calls on those cell phones. This is the concern. This was the type of concern expressed to us by the governor on down in Dnipropetrovsk. The fact that we would have a motley crew like this. And another point they made is that, yes, some speak Ukrainian Russian, but a lot of them are Muscovites. They speak with a Moscow accent. They are not locals. They are people who have been recruited, been trained, rather poorly trained, and then thrown into this environment. Our goal has to be to try to wind down this crisis, wind down this situation. And I believe we have an opportunity to do that. We have an opportunity because we have had this election now. And we have a plan which yields a lot of local autonomy. We have a plan which is a rather generous peace plan, which obviously offers amnesty, as you know, for those who struggled against the government in Ukraine. you have the will of the local Ukrainian Russian-speaking population, the majority of that population, to be part of this new system because they will be able to elect their own regional representation. But one thing stands in the way. What stands in the way is the insistence on President Vladimir Putin that he continues to bring in heavy weaponry and put that into this struggle, and as a consequence drive up the violence in the region. Russia is stepping up its actions, and that is why the United States and why Europe is working on a plan now. I must mention we already passed out of this bill the Ukraine Support Act, H.R. 4278. We passed this out of committee. Myself and Elliot Engel were the authors of it. It expanded our President's authority to increase assistance for democracy and civil society there and enhanced U.S. international broadcasting that we're trying to use right now to counter the Russian propaganda in Russia. The administration has provided $23 million in non-lethal security assistance since March and proposed a $40 million program to train and equip elements of the National Guard in the Ukraine. The announcement yesterday that the U.S. and EU have agreed to impose new sanctions, including on the defense, financial, and energy sectors, is an acknowledgment that the actions taken to date have been insufficient to deter President Putin. Given that the Europeans can bring far more leverage to bear on Russia than the United States, the responsibility falls heavily on them to convince President Putin that his current course cannot succeed and will only bring increasing pain to his country and his economy. Only under the pressure, that kind of pressure, is he likely to choose peace and finally allow the Ukrainian people to achieve the security, prosperity, and freedom they have so long sought. And I think that is the best course of action, and I yield back.